Hey, this is #1 in a new line of posts that I'm starting called Nowgimm25. So, 25 reps of exercises that can be done by most people at any time, anywhere with minimal equipment. And I'm just going to coral all of these under the IGTV so that they're easy to find and look at. Rules of engagement, you're going to, #1, try to get to these as soon as possible. So either whenever the posts come up in your feed or as soon as possible thereafter. #2, you're going to feel every rep. We're going to do a lot of mind-body engagement in these exercises so that we're multitasking. We're not just cranking out at these exercises. So every rep counts. So ideally, you keep at least a bit of the tension on for the entire 25 reps. Of course, feel free to modify the positions as far as making it easier and harder for you, but listen to the cues. All right, and then lastly, don't do anything that hurts your joints. All right, muscle burn is a whole nother thing. That's fine, but if any of these hurt your joints, you need to back off. All right. Okay, so tricep extensions. Here's where you're going to feel it. We have this area right here above the elbow where the two heads of the tricep converge. Okay, so right here is where we're going to have about 90% of the focus. And then if you follow the cues, you'll have activation also in the lateral part of the tricep, which is the part here that you can actually see when I lock out my arm, okay? The setup, always the setup is really important, right? So I'm sorry you can't see my feet, but it's easy to figure out. When your hands are extended and fully in contact with that wall, so your arms are extended about to shoulder level, it's going to be your feet that you move either further away from the wall or closer. Closer is easier, further away is harder, okay? So pick what you think is going to be your level for now. And the setup will be where we actually engage. We have about 80% of our weight on the balls of our foot at this point. We're going to engage the inner thighs, the glutes, and the core to make sure that they are as if all connected in one unit. So we have a little bit of engagement that's going to be our base. Then we're going to take a look at our sacrum to our head position to be neutral or basically in a straight line, okay? So that's going to be your setup. Now, the biggest cue here is that, well, we have two big cues, is that instead of focusing on getting our chest to that wall, like with the regular push-up, in the tricep extension version, we're going to focus on hinging this elbow, okay? Getting the elbow to that wall, and it will look more like this. Okay? Now, that was just the descent to that wall. So right here, when you get your full extent of your forearm all the way down to that elbow glued to that wall, you'll feel your triceps, of course, working. Now, coming off that wall is going to be just as important, okay? So here are the cues to come off that wall. We are going to, instead of thinking like we're just pushing away from that wall, we're actually going to think that we're pushing the full of our hands into that wall, #1, okay? As we're coming off. So we're gonna push into that wall, activating even harder those triceps. At the same time, as we're pushing into that wall, we're going to think about screwing that hand. Your hands are not actually going to move, but you're going to think that you're screwing the hand, and that's going to do two things. Your shoulder blades are going to follow along and come down and closer together, which is what we want, okay? Also, it's going to create that tension as if we're adducting into our ribs, the inside of our elbows, and that's going to recruit to more of your lateral head there, okay? So think of those cues as you, so here's our descent as you push back and try to get that maximum contraction, okay? And come up and begin again. So don't forget your base of your nice glutes and leg and ab engagement. And feel every rep, okay? You should feel a nice burn here. Here's what we don't want. We don't want to be up here in our shoulders, okay? We don't want our chin, our nose, our forehead, anything in our head to lead, which is a very common tendency, so don't worry if that happens to you, because we're trying to think, oh, let's get closer, and we try to lead with the chin. So instead, if that's a problem for you, do a slight chin tuck to make sure we keep that neutral spine along with the head, okay? We really want to get that full length of that forearm and the elbow to that wall, okay? If you go way further out here, okay, you're going to load it more, give you more distance to make it harder. If you come a little bit closer to that wall, try to be where at least, try not to go beyond where your arms are relatively straight here, okay? And then you will end up being a little bit more flat-footed, okay? The further you are, the more you'll be on the balls of your foot, okay? Pushing into the ground with the ball of the foot, all right? So try that for 25 reps.